Hi, you're watching India Post Live, India's first web TV news conversation online. I'm Shivraj and we're discussing how India is becoming a hub for wellness and health tourism. You too can join in on the conversation by joining in on indiapostlive.com. You can also tweet with us and we play them out during the conversations at hashtag IndiaPostLive or use the handle @IndiaPostLive. Right, the health and wellness industry is growing at a fast rate, 21% across India. And why is it that a lot of people from the West are flocking to India to sort of seek spiritual guidance, to go through various resorts and get that kind of relaxation and spirituality? Let's take a look.
From being the birthplace of yoga to a popular destination for tourists seeking spiritual growth, India has always been a center of wellness tourism. And ancient meditative practices are a big hit as wellness tourism is only growing. The industry is pegged at $439 billion and is estimated to grow 50% faster than global tourism by 2017. India will have a significant contribution in this growth. With increasingly fast-paced and stressful lives and more disposable income, yoga and meditation are growing. So if you feel like enjoying a relaxing spa or meditating in the high mountains, India is the place to be.
So let's discuss why India is becoming such a popular destination. Joining us in studio is Charles Thompson, who is a yoga teacher, but someone who's been in and out of India for the last couple of years and also learned yoga from really the source of learning. And we also have Dr. Bhattacharya, who's been with the Indian Army and is also a specialist in administration. But Charles, coming to you, why is it that wellness has become such a hugely sought after thing, and why is it that people from the West are flocking to India to seek that spirituality, to seek solace in yoga?
I think one of the first things that we have to acknowledge is that we're actually living in an amazing age, and one of the reasons why we're living in an amazing age is that we live a lot longer. Up to 50 to 100 years ago, people were living up to between the ages of 25 to 45. There was no penicillin, etc., etc. So now we're having, particularly in developed economies, we're having an opportunity to live to the age of 90 or 100. And of course, amongst all of that comes this expectation of having a better life. And yoga is this wonderful tool that we can use to improve our immune system. And it's amazing now, if you go across the world, it doesn't matter, I'm from Australia, or you go to the United States, or all through the Eastern European countries, how much fascination and interest there is in yoga. And people have benefited by it. I just love the practices, and I've gained so much.
But tell us about your peculiar story as well. You were telling me before we began the conversation that you actually came here at a very, very young age.
हाँ, मैं 13 साल की उम्र था और मैं अपना अकेला आया था हिंदुस्तान में, और ये जाकर के बिहार में, और वहाँ पर 11 साल रहा बिहार में, और वो भी एक योग संस्था है जो बहुत चुपचाप रहता है, वो ज़्यादा प्रचार नहीं करता है, और उस संस्था में मैं योग के बारे में सीखा, तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। तो वहाँ पर तो हर प्रकार के योग, क्रिया योगा, hatha योगा, स्वर योगा, सब प्रकार के योगा है। उसके बाद हम फिर वापस गए अपना देश ऑस्ट्रेलिया, वहाँ पर 30 साल रहा, और फिर अब मैं वापस आया यहाँ पर 3 साल से हैं हिंदुस्तान में, और मैं एक फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज कंपनी जो मोबाइल बैंकिंग दी जाता है उसी कंपनी में है, और मेरा सारा साथी लोग जो है ना सब हिंदुस्तानी है, और सब मेरा उम्र से बहुत कम है, और सबको किसी का कोई तकलीफ है, बीमारी है, कोई मौसम बदलता है, ये दुआ लेता है, तो लेकिन मुझे ज़्यादा नहीं लगता है, और ये पूछता है क्यों, तो मैं बोलता योगा, तो मैं भी उन लोगों को भी थोड़ा सा योग सिखाया है।
And Dr. Bhattacharya, clearly, of course, Charles is an exception. He comes from someone who's been here for years, he's actually studied, but a lot of people are now seeking solace in wellness. How is that different from medical tourism when you look at India?
Well,
or do both happen simultaneously?
They overlap to an extent. After all, the WHO definition of health is to be in a state of mental, emotional, as well as physical wellness. That is what that is how WHO defines health. So certainly, health and wellness, or medical and wellness, are overlapping terms, but then they are also kind of independent of each other to an extent. And by the term wellness tourism, as the clip that you showed before when the interview started was about, there are certain aspects about the Indian civilization and the Indian lifestyle which encompasses things like yoga, which encompasses things like meditation and the alternative therapies and the medicines which have been part of this land. For example, things like Siddha, things like the herbal medicine, things like the thermal medicine, things like the Tibetan or the Buddhist school of medicine and the Unani. So these various branches, which some of them are part of alternative medicine, along with the homegrown stuff like yoga, they all in toto we can call them as part of the wellness tourism, along with of course the conventional and the interventional medicine like surgery or the usual allopathic, if I can use that term.
Charles, of course, when we talk of wellness tourism, the first thing that comes to mind are these retreats and spas, but it's going much deeper than that now in India, especially. Obviously, because there is an awareness of the benefits of yoga, of Ayurveda, of Unani, and all the other things that Dr. Bhattacharya mentioned in the West. And,
yes.
and I think a lot of people are now coming to the source of where it was developed.
Yes, but also what's very surprising is that a lot of Indians have migrated abroad for economic reasons, and they've established themselves and they've done very well in abroad. And yet now many of them are returning to India specifically to visit yoga institutions and Ayurvedic institutions to study, learn, and then take that back with them. And quite often, many of them are inspired when they're abroad by meeting fellow citizens, like in Australia. Many Australians who are fascinated and have explained their experiences about how meditation, breathing, and all of these things have basically changed their immune system, helped their life. So I think that's one aspect. The other part, which is very interesting, is that probably for governance reasons, and now maybe hopefully they will change, other countries like Thailand have really gone on the upmarket. Even Bali has gone on the upmarket. So
yes.
When you're staying in a 7-star or 6-star resort, if we call it like that, you actually expect to have a yoga teacher. You actually expect to have some sort of Ayurveda. You actually expect to have Yoga Nidra and all these sort of techniques. Now, I must give recognition to the Taj Group, because the Taj Group is also trying to bring that about. And my sense is that as governance improves in India, and by governance I mean we facilitate and make it much simpler for the foreign guest to visit India, whether it be the visa, the travel arrangements, or whatever. It's going to be
in fact,
very
that's
big.
probably been one of the deterrents. Is the paperwork that's involved in coming to India as
yes,
well.
it's
Which is why Thailand and Bali have sort of
absolutely.
gone far
I mean,
ahead.
I just recently went to Sri Lanka, and when I went to Sri Lanka, I applied here online. I got a visa within half an hour by an email. Now, they also have many issues that they have to be concerned with people coming to their country, but they've got a beautiful online system. So it was a very simple system for me to go there. And I was fascinated to see yoga also in Colombo and it flourishing. So similarly with Thailand. So these things now India is very much focused on, and I'm sure the doors will open. And as they open the doors, I can assure you there will be a mass, but on all levels, not just at the low end, but at the top end, of people wanting to really come to the heart or to the source of where these practices have originated from. And India is such a vast land, and if you travel India, there are so many different types of teachers, schools that can teach you, and everybody has their own favorite, and it's it's all about finding what you can affiliate yourself with.
Dr. Bhattacharya, even the medical tourism industry is now all about the package, where wellness is also thrown in as part of the entire experience. How important is it to append the kind of wellness along with the medical interventions that people are coming for?
Well, I think it's very, very important. It is something which is going to be something which is going to give the cutting edge to the entire story. If you just go by the statistics and the facts, the way the industry has grown in last 10 years from being something which would only cater to, say, about 1.5 lakh people in 2005 to the projected 32 lakh, 35 lakh patients in 2014-15, I think it has taken a tremendous leap. I think it's a huge leap, it's a giant leap. It cannot work, this thing wouldn't have materialized with the medical fraternity alone. We need to encompass, we need to take along people like Mr. Thompson, we need to take along people from the travel industry, we need to take along people from tourism board, and everyone along, everyone on board needs to come. There are a couple of facts, the hard facts why India is a very promising medical or a wellness destination is very well known. The facts are the great expertise which is available, the low costs, the essence of Indian philosophy where the guest is treated as a god, Atitiya Deva Bhava, that is, guest is next to God. And along with that, we need to kind of take along the wellness factor, that is the X factor, which would kind of which would kind of complete the entire package, and which would kind of put us in a different league ahead of popular, hitherto popular, till now popular destinations like in Singapore, Bali, Thailand, which is very popular with the West.
Right.
I mean, you go to Western Europe, you go to America, you realize that during the winters, Thailand is a popular destination.
Absolutely.
So is Singapore, so is places like Malaysia or Bali, Indonesia and all. Because of the various the therapies, the various schools, the Buddhist school, the Chinese school of medicine, along with their own set of alternative medicine. And this is where we need to kind of put in our efforts to.
And I think the differentiator is the packaging as well.
The differentiator will be the packaging part. The differentiator has to be kind of
bundling together different things.
Binding together, and we need to reorient and realign ourselves to the contemporary realities. Two things I would like to add. One, Mr. Thompson has already mentioned, to relax the visa regulations, to make it more friendly, to make it more accessible, to make it more contemporary, more popular with the younger generations in the West. Other thing would be, a better, if the rupee stabilizes as compared to the more popular currencies in the world, like the US dollar or the Great Britain pound or euro, for example. So parity and the stabilization of the rupee, along with visa regulations, and maybe more structure to the Indian tourism companies, like more tie-ups maybe with the more world-renowned companies like Orient Express or Thomas Cook and all. That would go a long way.
Okay, we're also joined online by Shaurya Oberoi, who's a student. Shaurya, what's your perspective on the growing trend of wellness tourism in India?
Yeah, see, I have an uncle basically who's working in the US, right? And for a short interim, he was actually practicing yoga over there, right? So there are new trends which are coming up in these Western countries where people are actively taking up activities like yoga, which is basically borrowed from India at the end. My prime concern is to understand as to why people would still come to India when in their daily lives people have access to facilities like yoga techniques which are now available in the Western countries very readily.
Charles, do you want to take that? Because, of course...
Yes. Actually, I'd just like to give an acknowledgement, and it's going back in a little bit of time. There was a Swami called Swami Shivanand. He had his Mahasamadhi in Rishikesh in 1961. Now, he actually was a doctor in Malaysia. Mm-hmm. He renounced, and we're going back, talking about the 40s and the 50s here. He renounced, he went to Rishikesh, and he, being a doctor, started to write a lot of books on yoga, and he did a wonderful thing. And this maybe answers how the West got to know so much about yoga so many years ago. What he did was he said to some of his devotees, give me the yellow pages. So they got the yellow pages of Europe. And then he printed these books and he sent them for free all over Europe. Now, there were many people in Europe in those days who didn't even know the name India, let alone a concept about yoga. And in the mail, they got these complimentary books on yoga. And they were amazed. So the first thing they did was write a check and send him a donation. and he printed more books, and he sent out more books. So it's one thing that's definitely been there right from the 40s and 50s. You can see through Swami Shivananji that there's been a fascination and also an education about yoga. So when you're talking to Westerners, you'd be surprised at their Sanskrit, their knowledge of Hatha Yoga or Swara Yoga and the different types of yogas, how to incorporate them with their daily life. When we talk about medical tourism or when we talk about packaging in India, one has to be a little bit careful. There are the governance issues, but also people really want to see substance. And they really want to see that they're going to get something of benefit.
Right.
Often, many of my Indian friends are amazed when they travel abroad about how deeply foreigners and Westerners have actually studied the texts, whether it be the Tibetans, the Sanskrit texts, and got an
I think what
appreciation.
Shaurya's question also was, you know, you've seen it in America, for instance.
Yes.
Yoga has become a fad. They've got different breakaway branches.
Sure.
Why are they coming to India then?
No. Okay. So you see, when we say a fad, what are we talking about? Every person who takes something, they change it slightly. And some people package it in a commercial way. Now, you may say that for some people, unless it's packaged in a certain way, they're not going to participate in the first instance. There are others who have a much more serious side to them, or a more spiritual way, or a more religious background. So they will look at it in a different area. But after all, once you do something and you benefit from it profoundly, the interest definitely comes that you want to go to the source.
Okay.
And you know, it's an open fact that if you go to Microsoft, NASA, any of these big institutions, वो सब हिंदुस्तानी सब अंग्रेज लोग सब योगा कर रहा है, सब ध्यान कर रहा है, वो अपना कंपनी में खुद कर रहा है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया में अगर आप जाएंगे तो बड़ा-बड़ा टेलीफोन कंपनीज कॉल सेंटर्स में कंपल्सरी है कि उसको स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट कहता है ना, लेकिन वो सचमुच में योगा क्लासेस दे रहा है. और क्यों दे रहा है? Because what happens is when you have a company and you have sick leave, this affects a huge time.
Absolutely.
Now,
downtime.
even you have anybody who has absolutely no interest in yoga and he's running a big company, and you do an experiment and you show him that you get some of the employees, वो सबको योगा सिखाता है और फिर देखता है इसका बीमारी कम होता है, उसका स्वास्थ्य ठीक रहता है, वो ज़्यादा दिन ऑफिस में आ जाता है, तो वो बोलते हैं चलो लगाओ सब. ये हिंदुस्तान में भी हो रहा है. काफ़ी बड़ा कंपनीज में लोग जिसको विश्वास नहीं है वो बोले चलो लगाओ, अगर मेरा लोग आएगा उसका तबीयत खराब नहीं होगा और मेरा कंपनी को बढ़ेगा तो क्यों नहीं उसको माना जाएगा.
And also, but the other question, Dr. Bhattacharya, is just to play devil's advocate, is what about the quality of these wellness centers? Is there a measure of accreditation? Is there some quality check that happens or should take place? Because obviously you're getting an influx of outsiders. They do want, like you said, benefit for why they're traveling all this distance.
I think that's a very apt question, and something which is already in the process. It is happening. The other part of the question that you asked me was, it is a growing trend. That is something that's a huge positive. It is something more and more structuring is required. We have started the process. In fact, I think of the hospitals, the corporate hospitals that we have in India, maybe about 20 of them, 20 odd are now kind of, they have some kind of accreditation with the Western standards. And I'm talking about the big ones who are offering these packages being part of the medical tourism. But that is tip of the iceberg. The potential and the kind of the prospect the medical tourism industry holds in this country, whether it's the package or whether it's the sheer medical content of it. I think more structuring is required, and more structuring would invariably mean involvement of more established players who may be tourism players, who may be medical players in the West, and that would automatically bring in more transparency and more maybe more acceptability, and that is conforming to the Western standards, the very best, which would be comparable to the best in the world.
So Charles, you've been to Thailand and you've been to India.
Yes.
Of course, comparisons are odious, but
yes,
there obviously would have to be a comparison. When you talk about standards at that
Yes.
people expect when they travel all this distance.
Sure.
How do we fare vis-a-vis the Thailands of the world that package so well?
Okay, so the interesting thing is that when we look at Thailand, Thailand's actual पुराना जो चीज़ है वो सब हिंदुस्तान से आया है.
Absolutely.
और ये एक ऐसे देश है कि बहुत सारा चीज़ जो हिंदुस्तान में जो ख़त्म हो गया अभी भी कर रहा है वहाँ पर. जैसे उसका मैसाज, थाई मैसाज, वो ओरिजिनली हिंदुस्तान से आया है लेकिन यहाँ कोई जानता नहीं है. So it's a very interesting thing. But what's happened, if we're talking about wellness tourism, and if we're talking about yoga specifically, in Thailand, it's definitely at the top of the market.
Right.
And they've done very well. And I must say that the hotels in India have watched this. They're aware of it. And it's almost by default. So like others are coming back because they've met Westerners, similarly the hotels and the hospitality industry in India goes abroad and says, what? Yoga class, wellness class, a yoga nidra, and all of these things. So it's coming across. But just one thing I would also like to mention. Now we are having in Western universities things like a faculty of complementary medicine.
Right.
And what's actually happening is these are people who are going through or doing an MBBS, but they're also being allowed to study Ayurveda, acupuncture, and Ayurveda, yoga, dhyan, all of these different subjects. So in the West, it's already starting to regulate itself very, very well. I'm a little bit troubled though about in India when we regulate something, क्योंकि जब भी सखा आ जाता है ना, थोड़ा शांत हो जाता है सब चीज़ का. मैं ऐसे बोल सकता है ना. So our customer experience, अगर आप मांग लीजिए, मैं आपको योगा क्लास देता है और आप आते हैं मेरे क्लास में और 1 घंटे के बाद आप चले जाता है और आपको बहुत आनंद लग रहा है, आपका सांस अच्छा चल रहा है और आपको बहुत अच्छा लगेगा, तो फिर वापस आएंगे. आप एक दूसरा क्लास में जाता है, उसके आपको थोड़ा परेशान लगा, थोड़ा अच्छा नहीं लगा, तो फिर आप वापस नहीं जाएंगे. तो वो तो हो ही जाएगा. तो रेगुलेशन का थोड़ा सा हम ठीक है, ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि डूबिंग नहीं होना चाहिए, फैसिलिटी साफ सुथरा होना चाहिए, लेकिन वो बाकी गवर्नेंस में पूरा टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री में आना चाहिए. वो तो
Shaurya, when you speak to your uncle, does he have friends who've actually made that trip to India?
I am not really sure actually, but the thing is, right, he was looking for work for a brief period of time in between in the US. So he learned yoga and he started working with a person who owned his own yoga studio, in fact, right? So he started teaching people, and he actually tells me that the kind of awareness about yoga in the States, it's far more than the kind of awareness within India itself, because I don't know, we probably got too used to the culture of yoga in India that we not really paying much attention to it, or in the US it's fairly new and it's catching on really well, so it's very prominent. But my major concern is that, for example, someone like me, right, I am not really intrigued by the whole idea. I probably am, but I will not make an extra effort to try this out. Right? So we need to devise ways so that our own population is well in touch with something as good as yoga, right? Which has proven benefits to show, right? So I think we need to devise ways to entice our own population towards yoga in a great way.
That's an interesting perspective. That would also add to a lot more knowledge locally when people from the outside come in, because yoga is all pervasive in India. It's there, but we somehow, as Indians, take it for granted because it is actually quite a useful complementary to actual medical interventions.
हाँ नहीं वो सही बात है, लेकिन मैं एक एग्जांपल देता आपको. मैं गया कहाँ, बॉलीवुड, और वहाँ पे एक मराठी टीवी सीरियल चल रहा था और सब मराठी लोग हमसे मिल रहे हैं, बोलते आपसे हम लोग क्या सीख सकता है, और सब थक गया था, शूटिंग 16 घंटा था, तो हम सबको लेटाया और सबको योगा निद्रा सिखलाया और समझाया कि योगा निद्रा कैसे करना है. आप मुझे पूरा मालूम है कि जब भी ये लोग थोड़ा सा समय मिल जाता है ना, खबर में जा करके एक लोग बोलते हैं किसी को अंदर जाने नहीं दे, हम लोग योगा निद्रा करेंगे. जैसा हम बोला है कंपनीज में जो बड़ा कंपनी है, इसमें 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 लोग हैं. अगर ये लोग अपना कंपनीज में और होने वाला है, और आप शुरू हो रहा है कि ये लोग क्लासेस शुरू हो जाते हैं, कंपल्सरी क्लासेस, जैसे ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी हो रहा है कभी कंपनीज में, तो लोग पता चल जाता है, उसका फ़ायदा और लाभ उठाता है, तब लोग आगे बढ़ेगा. और ये तो खुद हो रहा है. मेरा खाली एक ही इच्छा है कि गवर्नेंस यहाँ पर थोड़ा और अच्छा करेगा. और गवर्नेंस का कहने का ये मतलब है कि एक व्यक्ति चाहे बाहर से आएगा या अंदर से आएगा, एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाएगा, थोड़ा सा इसके लिए सिस्टम मदद करेगा. ये नहीं कि उसको बहुत मुश्किल है जाने के लिए.
So finally, Dr. Bhattacharya, what would you like to see happening next for wellness tourism to really take off the way it's been projected by research agencies and people who are watching the trends?
I think many things. It's a very promising times. That is how I would start this. Couple of things. Immediately, I think visa regulations need to be loosened up a bit. They need to be, redefined and relooked at. Online visa, online applications, visa on arrival. These are the kind of things which should be made easy. Relaxation should be also made for patients who require kind of follow-up. There are like visa policies where I believe there has to be a 3 months gap after which the visa can be issued to the same individual again. I think those are the things which
the inhibitors.
Those are the obstacles. Those are the inhibitors. Those need to be done away with. We need to be more relaxed with our patients, with our clientels. That is one. Secondly, as I said, with the rupee now gaining stability, it's a nice thing happening. Rupee to dollar, rupee to euro conversions, if they stabilize, that's another hugely positive things. Indian immigrant doctors, the Indian physicians in US, Indian physicians in Western Europe, in UK, and generally all over the Commonwealth countries, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere. They are the ones with their expertise and with their skills. They have also won a lot of hearts and minds, and kind of actually graviated the people there, the patients there, to believe that India is a medical destination, if not at present, at least in the future. So they also need to, I think
we need to enlist their support.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Bhattacharya. Thank you so much, Charles. And thank you so much, Shaurya, for joining in on the conversation. You too can continue the conversation by logging on to indiapostlive.com and continue those tweets coming in. Thank you for watching.